This is where the fun begins.
What happens when you, especially when you're making a science fiction film, but almost any film, you're working with limited resources, and you're constantly sort of bumping up against the technology that you have. Cinema is an extremely technological medium. So you're defined by those two barriers. One is resources, one is technology. And Star Wars especially bumped up against those. So I was never really able to tell the story that I wanted to tell. I had to self-censor the story down to something I knew could be done given the technology I had available. And I would push it occasionally. I'd develop a way of panning in outer space. I would develop a way of creating a 2.5-foot high character that could act. And, you know, really, so at that point, really challenges. And especially with the first film, I had very limited resources. I mean, the budget was $9,999,000, and for a film of that scope, it was, you know, almost an impossible exercise. I was used to it. I mean, the other movies I'd made had all been under $1 million, so I could sort of deal with that sort of thing. But at the same time, I was frustrated, and I got the film finished somehow. But it wasn't finished to the level that I'd want it to be finished. And there's a saying that films aren't well, I guess there's a saying among directors that a film that is never finished is just abandoned. And for other directors, it's the film is never finished, they just finally take it away from you at some point. But no matter how the story goes, the director is usually left frustrated and not feeling that he's been able to complete his vision, or it's been altered one way or another. And so later on I had the opportunity when we were thinking about reissuing the films for the 20th anniversary of Star Wars, of fixing them up. And I said, well, this is a great chance for me to experiment with the new technology and see if I can do the prequels, and at the same time fix a lot of things that I was really frustrated with first time around with Star Wars that I couldn't complete properly because they didn't have enough time, money, or technology to do it with. And so that was a great experience for me. So the final version, now the DVD version of the films, when they finally get out there, will have all of the nuances that I've been looking for when I first did the films.
I'm telling you, this finale, it's unbelievable how tepid contemporary art seemed compared to the passionate quality of this finale. So you have this like huge, like it's like romantic nature painting, apocalyptic landscape of the lava. Lucas cross-cuts the destruction of the Senate chamber, and you have the destruction of industry going on. And then, after all these horrors, it is so beautiful. I'm saying, my God, nothing in the last 30 years in any of the arts has been produced as emotionally compelling and significant as the finale of Revenge of the Sith.
Are you sure? So be it.
Caf. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
I just love it how this damn thing doesn't take you off mute after your clips are done premiering for your intros and stuff. That's the thing that really annoys me. So yeah, hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to OG Star Wars channel. I am your host, Alora, and yes, it's that time of the week, Thursday morning Caf Chat. So good morning, and what do you have in your mug? What are you enjoying? What did you bring to sit down and participate with Caf Chat? What are you enjoying? As for me, I have my mug that says I like my coffee, excuse me, on the dark side. And of course I have my usual brew. Actually, I have some Timmy's or Tim Hortons. My daughter went up into Canada for she went up to Vancouver. And she visited up there, and then she brought back some goodies. And so she brought us back a can of Tim Hortons, which I like that coffee. Yeah, so I'm sipping on that as we begin here. So welcome, 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 everybody. Remember to hit the like button. Share the stream out. I know it's morning time here where I live at, and it's probably afternoon or wherever you're at. I do have people that participate, come in from other parts of the world. So thank you guys so much for continuing to support. You guys are greatly appreciated. And also become a channel member. Every Sunday, unless noted, is book club. So we have basically a call listen party as well. And we're moving through the Young Jedi Knights. We're on book 5, part 2 of book 5. And yeah, so contribute to the channel any way that you see fit that you can afford, and it's greatly appreciated. All right, so today we have a busy schedule here. So if you haven't seen what I posted on Twitter last night or yesterday, we are getting into certain things here, like John Boyega and what he says about the DT, the Disney trilogy, and does this change your mind about him? Is this a way for him to save face about him gaslighting and calling fans racist? Yeah. And then we're getting into Cade Skywalker as well, and the rumors regarding that. Then we are getting into, of course, our book of the week, LucasFact, and our new Jedi Order talk is about the Yuuzhan Vong mythos, their gods, the twin gods. So we're getting into that, since we're getting into part of the new Jedi Order where the twin gods are a focus for Jaina and even Jason. And so I thought we talk about the mythologies of that. Very, very interesting, brilliant writing between all the authors in New Jedi Order, and setting up these mythologies and evolving the story as they go along. You know, they initially have things planned, I guess you could say, and where they want to lead up to and stuff like that. But, we know that if you know New Jedi Order history, George kind of threw a wrench in there, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but he basically wanted Anakin not to be the main protagonist focus, basically. And so he asked for a change of direction in that story, because during the time the PT was coming out, and George just didn't want two Anakins within the timeline, even though they're grandson and grandfather. He wanted focus on his Anakin more than the EU grandson Anakin. So that's very interesting, and maybe we'll get more into that conversation as we get further into New Jedi Order, because we see a huge shift in who Jason is, and we know that Anakin's dead by now, so he has given his life to his life to save the Jedi and fulfill the mission, and on Merkur, or in the moon above Merkur. And yeah, so it's very interesting just to look at behind the scenes with the development. And even if you'd never look behind the scenes, it's still, you wouldn't have been able to tell that the boss man, the maker, had them switch directions with some characters, right? You wouldn't even have known. And because it was done so well. The shift, I guess you could say, the story shift was done so well. All right, so let's see who is in the chat here today. Force choke the like button and share the stream to all social media platform. Thanks, everyone. And thank you so much, Jordan Star Wars, for hanging out and waiting for the show to start. You are amazing. And then we have Derek here. Hello there. And hello to you, Derek. And Lethal Nonsense Alt. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, Lethal Nonsense? How are you doing? And then Backseater here. And let's see here. Woohoo! Yeah, that was a good kind of yawn noisy thing. Seth, how are you doing? Hello there. Hello there. I need to make that clip of hello there. All right. But I don't know which one would I do. PT Obi-Wan or OT Ben or Obi-Wan. You know, there's those two there. Channel member here. Yo, what's up? United Spacers Alliance. Yo, she's OG. She's #1. La Primera. The woman of the franchise. I like how he put the man in emphasis in capital letters. And then hit the freaking like and share the link out on all platties. Yes, all platforms. And another channel member. Oh, excuse me. Melissa Lord. Hey, Laura. Hey, what's up? How are you doing? Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. Now, you guys, so there's a lot going on in the sense of Star Wars talk in a way because of the coming shows. The trailer of Mandalorian and Grogu came out. That right there is so fucking funny. It's like I didn't even talk about and I was gonna play. Maybe I'll play parts of the clip, the video, but I haven't even talked about the friggin' trailer like in public, really. Other than saying that I thought rumors were that they were gonna cancel or postpone the trailer or whatever I said. But nothing other than that. I didn't even go to Star Wars YouTube page. I didn't even leave comments there. Not even on Twitter, nowhere. And this yoga instructor, don't listen to the yoga instructor about Star Wars, basically, or Disney Star Wars. I'll get more into that if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. It's fucking hilarious because I'm living rent-free in someone's mind, and it's kind of creepy, but still it's funny at the same time. And then Solar, hello, hi there. And then was that black coffee or what? Am I reading that right? Or are you sipping on black coffee? Straight black coffee. Some people like their coffee just straight, nothing in it, just straight coffee. Hey, I admire you. That's gonna put some hair on your chest and your balls. Sorry, I had to go there. Yeah, you're not gonna get this proper woman. I say shit. I say crazy shit. If you guys haven't really realized that yet, are those new people coming in? Yeah, I say crazy shit. It's all good. All right. USA says any male who adds cream or sugar should have their manhood questioned. And that goes with what I said. Let's see here. And I'm going to scroll down here a little bit more. Boyega agrees with people he was talking shit about 2 years ago. What a loser. Disney Plus, his ass. Laugh my ass. Yeah, so I had a conversation on Twitter with someone, a back and forth, and basically they're like, oh, I forgive him, and you know, if he is able to do that stuff, you know, so they're basically I would say naive or something to how these actors talk just to have some clout with fans no matter what, or with the people that they want to get hired with. So they flip-flop back and forth. You're not to trust them. Don't trust them. Don't believe them. Even if they feed you something you want to hear. That's what they do. They're actors. They're performing. They're feeding you what you want to hear. That's all. And then they will switch on you like crazy. Yeah. They will switch how they think about you in a drop of a hat if it gets them the job. Anyways, so here we go. We have Holy shitful. I love that. Holly or holy shitful. I love how you spell that too. Oh, nice. I can mute my work training video and tune in. Hey, well, happy to have you here, just as long as it doesn't compromise your work. I don't want to be responsible for that, but thank you so much. And let's see here. Anyone who lets someone else dictate what they drink needs their manhood questioned. Oh, come on, you guys. Let's see here. Black coffee is for the man. The man. I will also call him Jason out of habit due to abridged audiobook. Oh, goodness. All right, let me scroll down a little bit more, see who else I might have missed as I'm going and saying hello. And it looks like I got just about everybody. I know people are popping in, like Mike Casillas here. How are you doing now? All the shills who canceled their this communist plus over Carl Malone now have to pay more. Yes, that's interesting. They did up the price for the subscription. That is very interesting. Sabrina's espresso. Ooh, espresso. Now, I love my cappuccino. And I love, this is how I like, okay, so we're getting into coffee. We're talking espresso. So when I order a cappuccino, I don't care for lattes. I don't like a lot of milk with my espresso. And that's what a latte is. And then you have a little bit of foam. So when I order my cappuccino, I ask for my cappuccino to be dry. Yeah, that's like a bar term. Which means foam on top. And no steamed milk, just foam on top. And sometimes I'll ask for maybe a just a dash of baby vanilla sweetener, just to kind of give it a little edge of sweetness and stuff. But other than that, I'm all good. And that's my drink. That's my drink. So I like it strong. I like my shit strong. But yeah, like we're all talking caf here and espressos and stuff like that. Some people will just drink straight up shots of espresso and then they're done. They're like, okay, they down it and get to work. Why twin gods, not a single god nor triplets? We will talk about that in a little bit. So Conrado, thank you for tuning in from the Philippines. I think it's like what you say about 1 a.m. there. Thank you for tuning in. All right. So hello, you guys. There's 42 of you guys listening, watching, participating. I do stream here on YouTube, and then I also stream onto Twitter. If you're on Twitter and you wish to get in the conversation, get over on this side. Get over here on YouTube. And I do have a Rumble, and I did at one point when I first created Rumble, is I did cross-link so that when it goes live here on YouTube and even Twitter, it's supposed to go live over there. And since then, it something happened and it doesn't do it anymore. So I have to go check the technical aspect of it and re-establish that. And so you can find me on Rumble, but right now the stream is not airing over there as far as I know, the live. So you can find me over there. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me here on YouTube. However, if you're on Twitter, come over here. Come join the chat. Come join the conversation. All right. So let's go. Let's go here. So let's get our LucasFacts and Book of the Week out of the way so we can get into more important stuff here. So let's get into our LucasFacts. And if you are interested in Star Wars mythologies and stuff and how George created his own mythology for Star Wars, this right here will be very interesting for you guys. Let me see here. So let's get into it.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
All right. So this right here, LucasFacts, and these will, and I've been forgetting to schedule them here on YouTube in my posts area. So I will share over there later. So George Lucas did not meet Joseph Campbell until 1984 when he attended one of his lectures in San Francisco. Campbell spoke of George Lucas and Star Wars. Here, the man understood the metaphor. He said in the posthumously published The Hero's Journey, 1990, quote, "What I saw was things that had been in my book, but rendered in terms of the modern problem, which is man and machine. That young man," and he's talking about George Lucas, "opened a vista and knew how to follow it, and it was totally fresh." So he, like George understood, like he did have like anthropology under his belt and all that stuff. He was really interested into like the humans, their progression, mythologies, all of this. And Star Wars was an anchor for him to build that type of story, but in a unique and different way. And that unique and different way is basically in a science fiction style of space opera, I guess you can say, of humans and other species coexisting in the greater galaxy we know as Star Wars, and creating the mythology behind that with a single young man named Luke Skywalker, and then later on with Luke Skywalker's dad in a Greek mythology type atmosphere, and the Greek tragedy, basically. And, you know, so this right here, and I played this in the beginning of, in the intros to this, but this right here gets into some of this mythology, and well, I wouldn't say mythology, but what George was looking for in, not looking for, what he built. Because he wasn't looking for everything. He was basically building mythology, a story, you know, and something that people can relate to or get warnings from. There's themes behind them, you know, so I'm going to play this clip.
I'm telling you, this finale, it's unbelievable how tepid contemporary art seemed compared to the passionate quality of this finale. So you have this like huge, like it's like romantic nature painting, apocalyptic landscape of the lava. Lucas cross-cuts the destruction of the Senate chamber, and you have the destruction of industry going on. And then after all these horrors, it is so beautiful. I'm saying, my God, nothing in the last 30 years in any of the arts has been produced as emotionally compelling and significant as the finale of Revenge of the Sith.
So there you go. You know, like everything that he put into films were also echoed and also rules for the building of the expanded universe, or the multimedia franchise of Star Wars. And if you want to learn more about where the expanded universe name came from, or when it began to be used, basically, Tim, or United Spacers Alliance, basically is coming out with a small documentary series slowly sharing researched events on how that term expanded universe, that title, came to be. So he has part 1 and 2 out already. So I would recommend you guys to go check it out when you have a chance. Leave a comment. Maybe share with something that he shared within each video that resonated with you, or something that you didn't know that you were happy to find out about. But create a greater conversation, because that's what we do here for our channels when it comes to Star Wars, right? We come here to give you more than just talking about characters, right? We give you behind the scenes. We give you, you know, researched information on how things came to be, how Star Wars basically came to be a multimedia franchise. We all know that Star Wars, well, no, I take that back. Some of us know that Star Wars did not begin with the movies. It may seem like it, because movies were something that back in the day, in the late 70s and 80s and all of that, it was a place to be, a place to go, a place to sit down with friends and families, have a good time, watch something new, escapism, all of that. But when it comes to Star Wars, the stories came out in the book, the comic, then the movies, in that order. And basically sealing the deal of Star Wars being a multimedia franchise. So if you ever have someone tell you that Star Wars is just a franchise of the movies. It's not. That's what Disney wants you to think. But it is not. It is a multimedia franchise. And it's very fascinating. It's very rich on how all of this went down over the years before the buyout and stuff. And yeah, there's a lot that's gone on behind the scenes when new projects came out, you know, so there's an extensive history on behind the scenes and how everything was created. And our channels are dedicated to that, to give you guys a bigger experience on what had happened, what's going on, and outside of just talking about characters. So thank you again for supporting. But again, go check those videos out when you have a chance. Go check them out. But with the mythos here, we can clearly see the hero's journey for Luke, the Greek tragedy for Anakin. Brilliant there. George Lucas later, then after meeting Joseph Campbell, had him interviewed at Skywalker Ranch. And I've watched that interview about twice or three times already. I want to be able to play clips of it and maybe do a live, maybe do a watch party with you guys and talk about the mythologies and stuff like that, like this brilliant creation of Star Wars with mythologies and stuff like that, and what Joseph Campbell has to say about it. And, you know, so very interesting conversation interview with that. All right, let's see here. So let's get into our book of the week so we can push on and get into one of our first topics here. Let's see here. So where is it at? Here we go.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
All right. So I always love that clip. That clip is amazing. I always say that, but that's just how I feel about it. Hey, Bunts Books, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. All right, let's see here. So our book of the week is Approaching Storm. Approaching Storm. So author Alan D. Foster, cover by Stephen D. Anderson. And it was published in hardcover January 2002, paperback January 2003. And the timeline basically is 22 BBY, Battle Before Yavin. So this right here, very interesting continuity notes. Mace Windu's describing Obi-Wan and Anakin as returning from the border disputes on Ancion in Attack of the Clones is the novel's main approach to the story. So this is what that's about. So that basic line that Mace talks about is basically what the story is about. And what's interesting is Luminara Undali is beside Mace at the time he says this, even though she was on the mission. So there's a little bit of continuity hiccups right there. Shit happens. It happens. And so that's what's going on here. So that's what's going on with that. So how many of you guys have read this book? Let me know. So Barriss Offee is chunky and fat in Attack of the Clones. She's not chunky and fat. She's still thin. She's still thin. She's just wearing her robes. And I don't know if you mean like fat as in like looking good fat, like curvy. I don't know, but she's still thin. She's still thin. All right. So this book here, book of the week, going back into the PT era. And, this is right before, Attack of the Clones, basically. And it's been a long while since I've read this. Yeah, it's been for me too. It's something that I'm going to probably go back and revisit just because of curiosity, because it's been a while. I think I've only read it once. Not that it's bad. I just read it once. That's it. That's all. So yeah, so book of the week. If you don't have it on your shelves, I would highly recommend it. Try to find it without the Legends label if you can, possibly can. There you go. All right, so that is book of the week. All right, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and change the clips. There we go. There we go. So with that being said, so our cringe factor will get into John Boyega. However, let's get into Cade Skywalker. How many of you guys know about Cade Skywalker? Cade Skywalker is about 2 or 3 generations from Luke, and he is the descendant of Luke through Ben Skywalker. So that's what we know. We just don't have the story of who are his family, like the tree, the branch that leads to him, other than we know his uncle and his dad, right? He comes from the Legacy era, and that is about 127 or 130 years from the Battle of Yavin. So probably about 2 generations removed or something like that. Something like that. I don't know. Anyways, so Cade Skywalker, he is a beloved character that if you have read, anybody has read Legacy comics, majority of the time, I've heard people not care about Cade Skywalker whatsoever because he is a totally new type character, Skywalker character that some people may have just built this this thought, this feeling, this impersonation that Skywalkers have to be a certain way. And he breaks all the stereotypes of Skywalkers. Maybe because Luke Skywalker, through the hero's journey, because of his hope, compassion, love, all of that, thought that other Skywalkers had to be that way. You know, because once you get to Anakin, after Luke's story, and once you get to the PT when it started coming out, you know, there's some people who are like, oh, well, look how Anakin's acting. You know, so people put these high standards on these characters because of Luke. That's what I've noticed before. And Cade, I would say he's a mixture between, like, if you want to go into personality, he is a mixture between Mara Jade and Anakin. He has both of those type personalities like meshed into one. That's how I see it. He does have some inkling of compassion that he had buried during circumstances of the loss of his father and the purge of the Jedi Order, new Jedi Order of the time. And but he does have that heart on his sleeve in a way. But since those incidences, he's buried them. He's become estranged with his own Skywalker heritage and the Jedi. So there's a great storyline with that and how his character is written. It was so well done. So well done. So why are we talking about Cade Skywalker? Well, we'll get into that. I want to see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Let's see here. I have it as a hardback, and it was first. Oh, okay. Let's see here. I think Ben Skywalker, Luke's son, was his grandfather or great-grandfather, something like that. Something like that. If Disney canonized Cade, he'll be changed to Luke, bastard son. That doesn't fit. And we'll get into this. We'll get into this whole conversation here. Isn't Cade the same one who fought with Darth Krayt, or was it totally different Sith Lord? It was Darth Krayt. It was Darth Krayt. That was an Asherad head. I have the SFBC hardcover. Oh, okay. Yeah. In of the approaching storms, not storms. It's just sitting on my shelf. Hey, that's cool. You have it without the Legends banner, of course, because it's hardcover. Let's see here. Cade is like prototype Jake. No. There's no resemblance of Jake with Cade. I don't see how you're getting that. Hello, Alora and chat. Sorry, that's okay. Gordon, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. What's in your mug? Bud's Books. People wanted Anakin and Cade Skywalker to be the same. Did people forget how human biology works? I'm not saying... No. I think that... No, I'm not saying that they wanted them to be the same. I'm saying that people had... seen how Luke's character was of hope and love and stuff like that, and that they were seeing like Cade and Anakin in different aspects and hope, and it was off-putting to them. Maybe, I don't know. I probably wasn't clear with that. Probably was not clear with that. People wanted like these Skywalker characters to be like Luke, no matter what. But Cade is the product of his of the events that happened to his family in the Jedi Order. And yeah, so very interesting story. All right. Yeah, the standard Skywalker. So yeah. All right, let me go ahead and pull up what I'm talking about, what I'm leading into. Whoops, wrong button. Share screen. Oh, you know what? I have to make sure that I have it up and ready to go, because if I share, it's not going to be there. Okay. It's not going to be there. So these are happenings on Twitter first, and then we'll get into happenings on YouTube just for a little bit. I don't want to get too in depth with this. However, let's see here. Let me cancel that. Sometimes it's a friggin' drag just trying to share screens and stuff like that. And maybe it's just because I'm impatient. I don't know. So how many of you guys are aware of Disney Star Wars Starfighter? You know, the advertisement of that, the behind the scenes sneak peeks of scenes, right? How many of you guys are aware of them? Some of you guys still may keep up to date on what's going on with Disney Star Wars and Star Wars in general, like Star Wars under Disney, the faux lore. So we have this right here. Let me go ahead and go back to the screen. I'm just going ahead and click to make sure that you could see it. There we go. And scroll out. So here is the sneak peek of Starfighter. Gave me Waterworld vibes and Kevin Costner vibes. That's what it gave me, because we know Kevin Costner is the host or the protagonist in Waterworld, right? So it gave me those vibes. And I even stated that. So a new look at Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray film Star Wars Starfighter. And it goes out in theaters in a couple of years. So May 28 to 2027. So here is behind the scenes, I guess you could say, or a look at. So meaning they're probably most likely in production or whatever, who knows. But we have this character here. So we have Eckhart Latter. Many of you guys know who this person may be. Oh no. He is basically assuming with just this little statement here that this character here can be, or most likely is rumored, or he's making assumptions to being Cade Skywalker because of the hair and the grizzled bit of beard and mustache going on here. But see, he has a full beard going around the jawline. Cade does not. He just has it on his chin. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and compare. Basically, from what I'm seeing here, they are living on the ocean here. Whatever planet they're on, I have no clue. But they are living on the ocean here. So that means that their hair is going to be salty, going to be messy, all of that. So they're assuming because the hair is basically beach hair, you know, whatever that means, and messy and stuff, that it's the same person as Cade. or it could be. It could be possibilities because he's got gloves on. The attire is not entirely the same, but because of the features, it could be Cade. So let's see here. Let's go back. And then, so I state it can't be him. Disney Lucasfilm cut Luke and has no descendants. He has no descendants. On top of that, it would be a knockoff in name only, cheap imitation. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let's see here. Lucas Gerson, hello again. And let's see here. Or hello once again. Glad you're here. I'm aware Gosling can't save Star Wars. Laugh out loud. Waterworld 2. Yes, I know. No, let me go ahead and turn this on. I forget that this feature's here. He'll be a new character to be safe. And some people are celebrating this. It's crazy. Ooh. Some people are celebrating this, but it can't be. Why? Because we have at least one or two, maybe probably one between Ben and his father. His father. Excuse me. So Cade's father. There's at least one generation between Ben Skywalker and Cade's father. And that we don't know of. At least one. And so he is like, what, 3 generations from Luke? Something like that. And there's no way that they can make him a Skywalker. And if they don't make him a Skywalker, then he is just the same in features and that's it. If they make him a Skywalker, it's just bastardization of this character that does not belong in this timeline, this timeline in Disney Star Wars. But they're so used, they do it anyways. They do it anyways. They did it with Thrawn. And Timothy Zahn was happy to change Thrawn's origins, where he was born at, all of that. He was happy to change things around to get the Mighty Mouse dollar. The Mighty Mouse dollar. But do you guys remember this here? Let me go ahead and find it here.
And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans. Because it has way more value if we bring that in. And It's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So then you ask yourself, is it right to use him? And can we use him in a way that's similar to the books? Or are we using him and it's going to go completely into left field? And there have been times when we wanted to use things from the EU and I was like, yeah, but we can't use it that way. So why? I don't want to use it and change it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to use it and make it something completely different. That's rude.
So there we go. So we have this guy who is the chief creative officer or whatever his title is for Lucasfilm. And he's admitting here and that, if we bring in a character that doesn't fit who he is previously written as, then we're destroying the character basically. Well, actions speak louder than words. So you could talk all you want and look cool on how you honor his character, but the actions speak louder than words. Yes, the hypocrisy and lie jar has been full ever since the shoplifter Dave Filoni came in, correct? And it's been prevalent. It's been evidence since he was hired by Lucasfilm. Again, he wasn't directly hired by George Lucas himself, like many people want to say, and Filoni would want you to think. Go back and look in the research your history. Lucas wanted Tartakovsky for the Clone Wars because of how successful the little miniseries were. Clone Wars 03. They bargained, negotiated, and Tartakovsky didn't get what he wanted, and so he backed out. So I'm just giving you short story here, like everything in short. And so the company started looking at different people, and because of Filoni working with Avatar or on Avatar, he was hired, and I think her name was Kathleen or whatever her name was. They were hired. He was hired directly by Lucasfilm, and Kathleen was the one that more than likely brought him in. And he didn't work directly with George Lucas from the beginning, and that's evident in Insider, I think 101. I'm not sure, or 100. I don't quote me on that, exactly the numbers of that. Not Kathleen Kennedy. It's a Kathleen with a C. Catherine, or Kathleen, but it's not Kathleen Kennedy. And I probably got her name wrong. It's something along that line. But anyways, I've shared the article about that. I've shared information about that in the past. So they will bring in a character when they feel like it, no matter where they're going to place them in the timeline. And it's evidence with Coyote Mundi, with Acolyte. That is another thing. If you're going to bring them in, honor what was intended by them. And just because the movie doesn't state like age and stuff like that doesn't mean that it wasn't planned out and documented within the movie documentaries, like the source books and stuff like that. The source books is a way for people who want to expand their knowledge on the movies, who are more than just casual fans, to get into the history of these characters and find out more about them. And they were basically approved by George Lucas himself, and Lucasfilm to be the standing information on the character. I think that lady who brought him in left before TCW hit cinemas. If it was true, I guess she saw a cut of the film and was like, "What have I done?" Yeah, and that's the thing. She had left during that time frame. So it's very interesting how that happened, right? And so after she left, we started seeing Filoni lie more. Because she's not there to correct, hey, Filoni, no, we at Lucasfilm hired you. It wasn't George directly. So it's all documented. It's all documented how much Filoni lies. And so it's like you can't even trust him with anything, the truth or anything. You can't believe him with anything. And there's a lot that happened. There's a lot. SJW, what's up? I have not read anything post Return of the Jedi yet. Still catching up with pre-OT. That's pretty cool. That's fine. When you're there, let me know. But what are you reading right now? What's your current read? Where you're at right now? I would love to know that. And so Cade Skywalker can't exist in Disney Star Wars no matter how much you want to make it happen, right? Because there's no way with their lore that it is possible. But I've heard people even say on Twitter, not heard, but I read on Twitter, oh, well, Luke, basically slept with one of the characters from was it Andor? I don't know her name, but they picked a young character from Andor. And so he had an affair with the character and knocked her up and blah, blah, blah. Well, then you're telling me that Luke Skywalker doesn't care about family, is very dishonest. Star Wars Grand, hey, what's up? Like he has no morality, basically, in Disney Star Wars if he knocked up a character and was unwilling to stay, form a family, or was basically just absent father. Good job for helping with this assumption to make Cade a thing in Disney Star Wars. Good job in creating Luke as more of a horrible character. Right? Good job with that. Oh, yeah. Well, it could be like how Andor's character, didn't know that he knocked up that other character and he had a child and he died. Well, if you're going to compare it that way, those are two different characters. So Luke was all about family. Luke was all about wanting a family person, about love and redemption. And so what's funny is that people trying to do mental gymnastics to want Cade Skywalker in Disney because of this said rumor, you are trying to bastardize a character to make Luke look like a better character. So you're bastardizing one character to correct another. That's hypocrisy right there. It's a bit ironic too, really. You know, you don't bring in one character and destroy it to make the character you love that was destroyed look better, because it doesn't work that way. It makes both of them look horrible. It puts characters out of place. The experiences that they were written under and that developed them as they are is non-existent. So they're just a shell of who are what we knew of them. And that's Disney Star Wars in a nutshell. This is who they are catering to. And it just amazes me on how people are like, oh, they're going to bring in this character, help correct this character, or they're going to go along this line with this movie here because they're going to erase the sequel trilogy. No, they are not. It's like Disney Star Wars is a Frankenstein of what George created. It is a Frankenstein of what George created. It is. Honestly, it is. Now, I was going to share a video of Josh, because Josh, our den of nerds, or whatever you want to call him, picked the story up from Eckhart's Ladder. And Eckhart's Ladder did make a video about it too, about his assumptions, creating a rumor that Joshy Boy picked up, and then also made a video on there. However, I was going to play the video. We're not going to, but he falls into the trap of it, and it seems like he's excited, but then it seems like he's not. But my opinion on him and them still remain the same. You can't take a character, bring them in to try to correct a beloved character arc. Doesn't work that way. Does not work that way. And if you get excited and hyped up over something like that, then you never really cared about the franchise or the characters in the beginning, in the first place. You never really cared about even them tossing the EU in the first place. Because if you did, this would piss you off. This would be like, oh, not another fucking one. What? Why are you making these fucking rumors? Just because, oh, the character looks like the character in the movie. No. Oh, that's not going to show. Let me. Yeah. So, just because, oh, there's similarities because, his hair's messy from the ocean and the breeze, and he hasn't shaved yet because, hygiene and being on the ocean and stuff, you really don't do that shit, right? Compared to this character who you could tell he's like a roughneck. If you want to go into, our own terms, he's like a roughneck, but you could tell he keeps himself clean, upkept, all of that. Between that, so there's that comparison. If you want to get more into the technical issues, the technicality of everything behind that, and how Cade, again, how his father was killed by the Sith, how he even, because he was like disassociating, estranged of who from his family as a Skywalker, from the Jedi, he didn't give a shit. He turned over a Jedi to the Sith. So tell me how you are going to move around those character arcs to make him this character here. right? How are you going to celebrate a beloved character that was written so well by John Ostrander and inked so well, and also probably helped create, because Jan Durasima and Jan is also a writer. She also created characters, but she's mainly the penciler, the inker, the person, the visual artist behind these characters. How are you going to go and bastardize people's characters? Oh, wait. You did that to Thrawn. But Zahn helped out with that. Zahn didn't care. He's like, oh, my character is going into now the Disney quote-unquote canon. Yay, I still get to get paid. I'll do what you say, masters. I'll change the planet of origin and how he was in his character aspects and all this other stuff. And I don't care how Filoni's going to perceive him in Rebels and all that. There's no moralities behind these characters that some of these authors created, as long as they get their characters in Disney Star Wars. Oh, but we're supposed to honor these characters. We don't want to bastardize them. And I think that, excuse me, I think that when a character from the EU is thought upon to bring in, I think that they reach out to the authors and they give them a deal that the authors can't refuse. So if, we know that Lucino basically stepped away from Disney Star Wars after the last 2 novels he written, that he, in short, doesn't really care for the direction. That's what I get from him. Now that's classy. That's classy. And then there's authors who don't care, as long as they get their character in and they get paid. So there's a difference. And I've had a back and forth with Michael Stackpole about Corran Horn. And he would be thrilled to have Corran in Disney Star Wars. So there's another one. But I think that Filoni does, maybe, and I'm giving him a lot of leeway, I guess you could say, talk to some of these authors about using their characters. But then again, Zahn did say that in certain developments with Thrawn that he was never contacted. So who knows? Who knows? All right, so I can go on a rant about this for quite some time, but I'm trying to maintain time here. I recall reading a comment about someone's headcanon assumption that Plagueis, not the Force, was the one who knocked up Shmi. That person was either trolling or was stupid when writing that. Yeah, I've heard about that before. Zahn got scissor-fisted by Ahsoka. Wow. Oh, that's harsh. And then Cannibal, how are you doing? Yes, these people claim to love Star Wars, but they are okay with rip-off characters and having them watered down and destroyed. Correct. He still wanted to feel more between Rebels and Ahsoka. Zahn. Only money. John Ostrander. Oh no. They wouldn't dare. And let's see here. I'm not looking forward to anything from this studio. Lots of plagiarism. Yes. Disney is turning Cade into a white Quinlan Voss. The fact that everyone who's celebrating that possibility never had read the Amazing Legacy comics ever in their lives. Possible they only had read some Wikipedia progress. And I think that like Josh Gen of Nerds, I believe it's him, or it could be Eckhart Ladder, maybe both. Don't really care for Cade Skywalker. So that's very interesting as well. That is, hey, Abu Nas, what's up? Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing today. You're probably been doing well. Yeah. So there you go. So there's this. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about this rumor? Now, it's short-lived. I think it's just, oh, well, they look familiar, so it has to be him kind of deal. Because, his hair It's got wave. His hair is messy from the ocean. He's not keeping himself up. He's not keeping himself shaved whatsoever. You could tell he's clean shaven other than just keeping his like chin beard or goatee, I guess you could say, and a little bit of his mustache. You could still tell he's upkept. You can tell he's not. I mean, you could even see on his face he's dirty or has a bruise or whatever. He's not being upkept because they're living on the ocean. Look at the kid's hair. Oh, well, the kid's hair is messy, so maybe he's Cade Skywalker. See how that can be played out? Just because the hair looks familiar for whatever reason doesn't mean it is them. And to want to celebrate, to want that as them inserted in, Cade Skywalker inserted in, means that you don't give a shit about the EU and what was created by these authors and stuff like that. And if you're using it as an excuse to make Luke look like he's being saved, redeemed from what the Disney trilogy did of him, you don't care in general anyways, because you want another character bastardized for that. My hair is messy. Maybe I'm Cade Skywalker. Right? Eckhart doesn't like the EU or George Lucas. Their tone and choice of vocabulary make him sound like a giant hater. That's the vibe I get from him. Yeah, Buns. I haven't paid attention to him whatsoever in a long time other than this. And then there was another incident that I seen of his that I went back and forth with him about. Yeah. It's going to be trash. Can't believe they so desperate that to now take shit from the EU to make them movies. Shake my head. Audience smell BS. Yeah. All right. So let's get into our lore now, since I did a lot on regarding that. But I thought it was important to talk about. So the Yuuzhan Vong, let me go ahead and go. So we are probably most likely ending the Dark Journey time frame. However, we're taking a pause of talking about the Yuuzhan Vong events during that time, and we're going to talk about the mythos, the twin gods of the Yuuzhan Vong. And this is basically our first introduction of Yunharla and the twin gods. And so I figured, well, we will pause that and talk more about the mythologies. And it's a great segue. It's a great, I would say segue, I guess you could say, with the LucasFacts here regarding that. Because we know that George set rules and guidelines on how even the expanded universe should be written, should be shepherded, basically. And it needs to, go along the lines of how he created the movies with mythologies and stuff like that. And people are saying, oh, well, George says the EU isn't his because he wouldn't have written it that way. Of course, every author has their own way of writing. George is not a writer. He's not an author. But if he was, if he did, there would be a lot of similarities and there would be some differences because we're talking about individual people. Like if we took one of Lucino's books, let's say Darth Plagueis, and I'm just going to throw it out here, and Troy Denning was catered to write that, was brought in to write that, it would be different. There would be a lot of, maybe some similarities, but it still will be different. So see what I'm saying? So when people use that quote, they're not using their brain. They're not analyzing that, oh, well, no, two people are going to write things exactly the same. However, there's rules and guidelines that they have to adhere to and a storyline that the company wants them to go along and how these characters are portrayed, right? So when you look at the treatments that George sold to Disney, the one that is published in the glimpse of one that's published in the archives, and it shares about how Luke, after Return of the Jedi or the Battle of Endor, goes and recreates the Jedi Order, and Leia is now the chancellor or the president of the New Republic and helped form that. Well, that's what had happened in the EU. That is very similar. That is what happened in the EU. And it took some time for that to happen. We see it over the course of Trusa Bakura, all the way into the X-Wing series, all the way into Dark Fleet, the Black Fleet, and all that. So, it's all that. So people are saying, oh, well, George would have written differently. Look what he did with that, blah, 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 blah. The only difference is that he was thinking about having Talon and Maul. That's the only difference. Other than that, it's all the same. It's all the same. But people don't use their brain cells to compare or contrast, to be analytical, to look into it further. They just spew a narrative. And that's what I'm seeing with, and I'm not trying to diss on anybody here, but a lot of these future generations here that are raised in front of the screen, technology, they believe everything that's published without questioning. That's the reality we're in. It's like they're so gullible to believe anything that they see on the screen as true. And I think that the government, and I'm not a political channel, but I think the government is shepherding the future generations to think that way, to gain control. So, but that's a story for another time. That's a story for another time. And SWA member for 9 months. I finished reading Star Wars Annihilation recently. Oh, okay. So you're further back in the story in the PT timeline. You're further back in that way. 100, yes. And but that's not what George said. Some Disney shill. Yes, I purposely wrote like that. Don't correct my bluntness. I got what you were saying. Disney shills probably think Cad Bane is child of Cade Skywalker and Darth Bane. Oh, Silver, that is hilarious. And hello, how are you doing? Yes, everything the government says is a lie. Yes, question everything. I question everything. And I have 72 beautiful souls watching here on YouTube and Twitter. Thank you so much. If you want to come over here and get in the conversation, come over here onto the YouTube side if you're on Twitter watching. All right. Yes, they think what they say is true and you can't prove them wrong. Right. I'll catch the replay. All right. So now let's get back into the story here. The mythologies that of New Jedi Order, the Yuuzhan Vong Twin Gods. Well, I couldn't find any images, and I'm pretty sure there might be images in a source book. I have the full Bible, and I know, thank you, Justin, or Pierce, for sending me pieces of the Bible, the Yuuzhan Vong, the New Jedi Order source Bible. So I use this image here just to give us an idea, an image of the Vong. But the Vong mythology, you have different deities that they worshipped, and they were basically in a pecking order, a pecking order of gods. And they also had castes, so certain castes were associated with certain gods. Like you have the Shapers, right? And then you have the warlords, and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting when you get into the mythologies of the Yuuzhan Vong. Very, very GG, gotta go. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what? Sorry. All right, SWA, thank you so much for tuning in with us as much as you can. And catch the replay. And we have John Boyega Cringe Factor coming up, so you might want to listen to that. That's going to be interesting. All right, let me go ahead and make this a bigger screen. Hey, Lee Silver, how are you doing? I see you. I'm going to take this off the screen here. Yuuzhan Vong Twin Gods. Now, this is all the text. Sometimes when I download these PowerPoints, it messes up the visuals, but this is all the text. I made sure. The Yuuzhan Vong Twin Gods. The twin gods were Yun Yamka, the god of war, and Yun Harla, the goddess of deception or even chaos. They were held in great reverence by the Yuuzhan Vong. Together, they promoted victory in battle over the enemies over the Yuuzhan Vong. Yeah. So they were about victory in battle, and each one of them, they were twins, and each one of them had a certain characteristic. So you have the goddess of deception or chaos or what have you, and the god of war. And they have their titles vary a little bit when we get into the source books, but that's basically who they are. Yuuzhan held the highest importance in the pantheon of gods, though many privately held the twin gods in greater regard. The Yuuzhan Vong had a holiday known as the Festival of the Twin Gods. Did you guys know that? I mean, probably a lot of you guys are learning this for the first time. During the Yuuzhan Vong War, the solo twins came to be associated with the twin gods. Jason as Yoon Yamka, due to the defeat of War Master Savang La, and Jaina Solo played into their beliefs, and because declared herself an avatar of Yoon Harla, the goddess of deception. So there we go. Oh, goodness gracious. So here's all the gods, not all of them, but here is basically, you have the priestesses, you have the warriors, these are the castes, you have the workers, you have, so there's the castes there. The pantheon, we have Yum. I can't even read it. I need my glasses. It's so tiny here. So you have the cast here. You have Yoon. Yunshin, the creator, the maker, basically. You have Yoon Harla, the cloaked goddess. You have Yoon Yamka, the slayer or the god of war. You have Yoon Inshel, the shaper. You have Yoon Shanma, or like I said, I can't read this. It's like so tiny right here. I should have just clipped it the way I was thinking about earlier. So you have these pantheons of gods here. Pantheons of gods. Curiosity. Savang La loves the Yuuzhan priests. Let's see here. Let's see here. I always thought that the Vong's human suit disguises were something out of the Men in Black movies. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you could kind of see similarities into a lot of things, like some of these authors may have borrowed and stuff, or were inspired to create. So the Festival of the Twins. So we're going into Vong lore here and the mythologies of the Vong. So it's very interesting. Like I said, the people who were brought in together to write this it was going to be bigger than that. I think it was supposed to be 23, 24 books. Some books were vetoed or canceled, making it shorter, but not that short, right? Because it's 19 books, 19-book series. But because they were given, because of the project, how big it was, I guess you could say, 19 books. Oh God, 19 books. Who is going to read 19 books, right? If someone's going to cry about reading 19 books in a franchise that they love, in a timeline that is different than what the normal timeline gave of like who the enemies are and what's going on with the galaxy during that time, I question your fandom. Really, I question your love of Star Wars. That's just how I see that, so, but anyways, here we go. So we have here the authors who are all brought in, shepherd for this, did an amazing job on together expanding the culture of this enemy that came in to invade the galaxy, with the mythologies and the inspirations. If you go to HoloNet's YouTube and listen to the documented, like the 7-part, 8-part documentary that he did on the New Jedi Order, the authors are going to tell where they got inspiration for creating the Yuuzhan Vong and all of that. very interesting how everything was developed and how well it was done. So the Festival of the Twin Gods was a holiday among the Yuuzhan Vong in honor of Yun Yamka, the Slayer, and Yun Harla, the Trickster. So basically, the Slayer, the War of God, Yun Harla, the Trickster, are the goddess of deception and stuff. A whimsical festival that allowed a dropping of rules among the Yuuzhan Vong. So they were so stern on the rules. Like if you broke any, you had to go in the brace of pain and repent and So there's all of that behind how they perceive and how they carry out their life towards their gods, right? What they do to appease their gods, and all of that. Allowing Critchlings would play tricks. They would play tricks on their elders without any fear or reprisal. While Da Yuuzhan Vong would often trade secrets with each other, even among domain rivals. So a lot of rules, again, were a time where they were freer to talk, speak, not adhere to the strict structure of their culture, I guess you could say. The strict structure of their culture. Normies, oh my God, 19 book, that's too much. I can't read all of this. EU fans, God, I wish we'd get more than only 21 books. Right. And you got the comics as well. There's the comics as well. And I want to go back and cover some of them as we move through this timeline. And I only did one, I believe, or I only talked about that. But so we'll also get into the comics. All right. The Vong should have tried removed people's internal organs to wear their skin like suits, like Inard of FNAF. I like how they are doing it, how they did it already. I like that. Hey y'all, massive power outage is finally over. Holy crap. You guys just have a time over there in Texas, don't you? Lucas Gerson, invasion, haha. Yeah. OG is Cade Skywalker. Let's see here. Technically 21 if you count the short stories and novellas. Yeah, that's right. And then you have the comics, right? But if you're gonna cover like the main stories, that would be the novels, But yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I always thought the Vong human suit disguise. Yeah, I already read that one. All right. Yeah, lucky us. I was wondering what happened. I was wondering in Zagrat 315, what's up? What's up? So we just got through the Yuuzhan Vong gods. Well, we're getting through it, yeah. So this was short and sweet, but I thought it'd be interesting just to go over with you guys that Jaina and Jason are now being seen as these twin, like these avatars of these twin gods that the Yuuzhan Vong worship. Now, the twins are not like they happen few and far in between. So they're not something that happens all the time in the culture and the birth of their own species. So they see them, anybody that's born as twins, to be gifted or by the twin gods in a way. And one god needs to be sacrificed so the other can achieve their goals too. So there's that. So when we go forward in the timeline, I'm just going to give you guys some, those who don't know yet, give you guys a little bit of spoilers, just a little bit. So as we go forward with Jason and Jaina as seen as the avatars of the twin gods of the Yuuzhan Vong culture, mythology, they won't kill Jason until they get Jaina captured, because the twins gods have to fight each other. In their mythologies, the twin gods, one kills the other and then the other one advances up. And so it's very interesting to see that. So they want to either sacrifice one or the twins fight to see who would be the victor. That's in their mythology of the twins as well. that I didn't put in here, that I forgot to put in here. So very interesting to see this unfold between them. And Jaina plays a fun role with this, her as the avatar of their twin, of one of the twin gods, Yuuzhan Vong. And with that, she goes into character about it. She basically is promoted as Twin Sun leader. And people from the Wraith Squadron join in and they play out. They act out, they perform out her as Yuuzhan whenever they go face to face with the Yuuzhan Vong in battle. So it's very interesting writing going forward with this bit being played out with Jaina as Yuuzhan. And we'll probably get more into this as we go along, because I think it's fun. When Wraith Squadron gets involved, there's going to be a little bit of fun going on. If you know more about Wraith Squadron and who they are. You have Rogue Squadron, the elite of the elite. You have Wraith, who basically still elite pilots, but these are extraordinary people. People that wouldn't be picked up because of their backgrounds. And but their backgrounds play an important role to who Wraith is. So I highly recommend, if you haven't read X-Wing series, to read that. X-Wing series under George Lucas is one series. Just because we get into the birth of the Wraith Squadron in the X-Wing series does not mean that there's two series. So because they are still X-Wings, right? They're still creation of by Wedge Antilles. Now, the creation of Rogue was a co-creation between Wedge and Luke. Although it was first Luke's idea, I believe, but he brought in Wedge and stuff. So there's this whole thing about that. But Wedge and Luke are the ones who overseen the creation of the Rogue Squadron. And when Luke stepped down, he passed on the torch to Wedge. When it comes to the Wraith Squadron, that is Wedge entirely. And they are so fun. There's some fun characters in there. There are some fun characters in the Wraith. There are deaths that happen, and there's always death. We see the deaths happen with the Rogue Squadron. We see it with the Wraith as well. But it's a great read, from the beginning of the X-Wing series all the way through. Very fun. So like I said, when you get Wraith involved, there's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say what characters are involved yet. If you know, then you know. If you don't, then you can wait until we get there. But I thought it was very interesting. Very fun. All right. So with that being said, we're going to get on into, let me go ahead and remove this, into our cringe factor. So weren't the Wraiths folded into NRI, the New Republic? The Wraiths have always been a part of the New Republic intelligence. Yeah. So they're part of the intelligence. So yeah, so they're a starfighter fleet, I guess you could say. X-Wing. But yeah, so they go more into the intelligence portion. Like when you what story is that? Damn it. Okay, Tatooine Ghost. When you read Troy Denning's Tatooine Ghost, and Leia is looking for the Kilik Moss painting, I guess you can say, there's a reason why. And there's a chip in there that has, their communication data and stuff in there. And when she calls upon Luke and stuff like that for some answers and stuff like that, basically, and also asking Luke to see if they could call, have Mon Mothma call back the rogue and wraiths and stuff like that, or stop the communications, or give some warnings out to them. Luke's like, well, it's too late now because the wraiths and rogues are already on a top secret mission. And no, it's not an inhibitor chip. And you know, so they talk about that. So yeah, so there, and even Rogue Squadron has worked for intelligence before too. So if you get into the history, if we get into the history of that, there's a lot going on. Like, I mean, I'm telling you guys, the stories, like if you get not behind the scenes, but if you get more into depth of the lore, you know, you'll find out, oh, yeah, you know, Rogue has been involved in the intelligence sector before in certain circumstances. Wraith, though, is the one that goes undercover a lot more, in a lot more very private missions, I guess you can say, top secret missions and stuff. So it's a very, very interesting, very, very well written. And people who say, you know, like otherwise have never read the EU before, has never gotten into the dynamics of the lore. I did too. That's one of my favorite. I hear like some of my comrades, like Tim, and I think it's Matt Wilkins, they don't favor it whatsoever, but I think it's a really well written story. So, but with that being said, what do you guys think about John Boyega? What do you think about him? Well, we're going to get into that right now for Cringe Factor, but let's go ahead. If you guys need to refill your drinks and what have you, now is your chance.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy, just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi, or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story and continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
Jedi is something that came a little later. When we started building Jedis, we had a lot of Jedis, and we needed more and more Jedis. As we were doing them toward the end, we ended up with a lot of Jedis that looked like people that worked at ILM, with these short little haircuts and looked like they stepped out from behind a computer. And so I was saying we have to get more exotic Jedis, and so we only have so much resources to do these things with, but I do have Twi'leks because we use them quite a bit in other areas in the Senate and as background action. So I have a sort of a wardrobe and a setup of certain kinds of characters. So it was a way of reinventing some of those characters. And I had realized that we had a comic book that has a Twi'lek in it that is a Jedi. There's a whole series actually of her. And I said, well, why don't we put her in this? I mean, she's a comic character, but we'll just fit her in and have her be a background character because that's exotic. That's how the Twi'lek Jedi ended up in the backgrounds of these shots, was to try to use some of the work and effort that the guys in the comic book world had put into things and characters they had created.
So uncivilized.
All right, so here we go, you guys. We are going to get into our cringe factor regarding John Boyega's reveal 3 changes he'd make to the Star Wars sequels. So this has been shared on different Star Wars related, Disney Star related channels, on Twitter, and so on and so forth. And many people are now like hyping him up because of what he shared, forgetting that he's the one who gaslighted fans and called everybody racist because his character and other characters like Mace Windu's, Samuel L. Jackson, and Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Wilson's character, was not the main characters, and it's fans' faults for allowing them to be that way, because then Disney or Lucasfilm continued down that road of allowing them just to only be sprinkled in, and that's it, and not be a main character. So that's the chocolate chip analogy. And I've heard many people say, well, chocolate chips are the ones that make the cookies. And so he didn't really use that analogy very well to gaslight the fans. So, you know, they basically calling fans racist because his character was not the main character, when he needs to look at the writers, the creators of the character, of the story, not the fans. Fans don't influence anything. Fans are not there in the writing room, right? And then some people are now like, oh, well, you know, because he said this, you know, I could start forgiving him because he's seen it the way I see it, how they bastardize the characters, blah, 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 blah. No, he's just appeasing you. He is only saving face, and he will change his mind in a drop of a hat, as long as it keeps him relevant in Hollywood. Don't be that naive. Don't be that naive. Yeah, and Disney moved him from the poster for China. Well, they didn't remove him. They shrank him down significantly. He was still on there, but not as big of an image as the original poster. All right, so let's get into this. This is Cringe Factor here. So this is written by Michael Balderston. So there, here he is. Michael Balderston is a movie news editor with Screen Rant. He has been covering the movies and entertainment industry for various publications for more than a decade, in addition to constantly seeing as many new movies as possible and discovering classic, blah, blah, blah. So basically, he's a reporter, basically. So John Boyega knows what he would change about Disney Star Wars sequels that he started. The actor who played Finn in Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, has recently made stops at fan conventions where he hasn't been shy about expressing his views on his Disney Star Wars trilogy. So his views. So does this mean that he's this one big chocolate chip, or is in the cookie then? Who knows? The late example came from Florida SuperCon 2025, where Boyega shared he would have gone about things. He had been the producer overseeing the movies, in particular 3 things. He would not have killed off Han Solo or Luke Skywalker. But what about Leia? She got killed off. The new characters would have faced more challenges, and he would have looked to the stories like from the Old Republic and Force Unleashed to expand the universe. So what do you think about that? Do you think he knows what he's talking about? Because those storylines, the Old Republic and the Force Unleashed, very different storylines and a very different in the timeline, and influenced very differently because where they are in the timeline. So how would they influence something that is like what, over 3,000 to over, or just about 100 years from, or a little less? How is he coming up with this philosophy? I've never ever got in a conversation with anybody. Hey, Nerdmigos. Never got into a conversation with anybody regarding, oh, well, the sequels to after Return of the Jedi need to be similar or look like the stories used in Old Republic and Force Unleashed. How? Like, I'm trying to go along that train of logic there, but let's go on. After being asked by a fan during the panel what he would do differently if he were in charge of remaking the Star Wars sequels, Boyega begins. First of all, we're not getting rid of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, all these people. We're not doing that. Oh, he's forgetting about the woman. What about Leia? He's forgetting about the woman. The first thing we're going to do is fulfill their story, fulfill their legacy. We're going to make a good moment of handing on the baton. So they're going to make a good story of handing on the baton to Rey, because that's what the story is about, is her, right? Now, he's recalling back to the Old Republic and to the Force Unleashed. So he's probably played those games. He's probably known them through the games, or maybe have read that. I'm just assuming. Given credit, maybe it's worth due there or not. I don't know. But he is calling upon that. However, what about the post-Return of the Jedi lore under George Lucas? What about that? Why isn't he comparing it to that? Instead of, other than comparing it to stories of the Old Republic and Force Unleashed. Wouldn't it be more logical to compare and want to do something similar to what had been seen post Return of the Jedi during that time frame for Luke, Han, and Leia? You would think, right? You would think. He would later add, Luke Skywalker wouldn't be disappearing on a rock. Hell no. Standing there and he's like a projector. I would want to give those actors way more. So, yeah. I mean, that was very off-putting. I agree. That was very off-putting, but he was fine with it going in. Or was he? We don't know. Like I said, these actors and actresses will say things to be in the good so that they can maintain their career. That's all. That's it. Because he was very upset about, people of color, basically, not getting protagonist roles, including, his character and Billy D. Williams and Samuel L. Jackson, right? As for his other points, Boyega said that new characters, which include his character Finn, were OP'd. What? Finn were OP? Finn was OP? So going around screaming, Rey, that's OP? What the hell? Or overpowered, being able to grab stuff and quickly use them. Finn was able to quickly grab stuff and use them? Well, wasn't he a trained type stormtrooper? So he had training versus Rey. He had training to use weapons and stuff. So how would that make Finn OP? I'm not getting his train of thoughts. Now he's talking about Rey. I get it. She is a Mary Sue. She's not OP. She's a Mary Sue. Like how they both, like how both he and Daisy Ridley's Rey were able to wield lightsabers against Kylo Ren. He barely used it. He's got his spine cut. Like literally, Kylo Ren cut up his spine and he went down. He barely even used a lightsaber. However, he had training with some weapons, basically, but I still question his ability to use the saber. I always have. Where Rey was able to hold her own no matter what and basically defeat him. Even as the Star Killer planet, is that what it's called? Started breaking apart from, the X-Wings taking it out. As for using the Old Republic and the Force Unleashed video games, video games. Yes, it's video games. I knew it. Boyega said he would want to expand the Star Wars universe as much as possible while respecting the lore. Again, why didn't he think about post-Return of the Jedi lore regarding Luke, Han, and Leia, especially post-New Jedi Order? Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know about that lore. Obviously, he doesn't know. Let me see what you guys are saying. Starkiller Base is actually Ilum. It's being built in Jedi. Yeah, and I know. The First Order trained their stormtroopers like prequel-era Jedi. I wouldn't know their lore behind that, so thank you for sharing that, maybe, or if you're just assuming that, I don't know. Well, you're a little late, bud. We have that since 1978, correct. Bunce says, Samuel L. Jackson and Billy D. Williams never complained. Care to explain that, John Boyega, or was that not part of the contract? Right? Hey, Iron Inquisitor, what's up? I see you. And also Double A. First, he blames Disney for bad writing. Then he blames the fans. And now he's blaming again the company. This guy is bipolar as fuck, right? Finn was the knockoff of Kyle Katarn, but didn't copy the entire story. Yeah, that's another thing, too. I see that, too. I see where you're going with that. Finn was basically trained like a clone trooper taken by the First Order as a baby to be trained as a stormtrooper, in a sense, but he wasn't cloned, basically. Rey! Yes. Yeah. He didn't think of those things. See, OP characters, he's just saying stuff others have said. Yeah, he's copying the narrative. He is just like anybody else copying the current narrative that's being said, that has been said. Yeah, apparently a lot of the FO stormtrooper in the faux lore were kidnapped as kids. Yeah. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the article. John Boyega echoes desire for Star Wars sequel do-over. Oh, so would this basically go back to his chocolate chip analogy of making him more of a lead character? Boyega is hardly the first person to discuss how they would or how they wish Star Wars sequels had taken a different path. We already know the path they've taken, and that's pre-George or pre-Disney Star Wars. We already know. I mean, we're already talking about a sequel timeline to Return of the Jedi, and that's New Jedi Order. We already know. So it's kind of sad, and it's kind of like reality with these guys that pretend they know Star Wars and want something better with the Disney trilogy, that they fail to see that there was already a timeline about all of that. And it's pretty sad that they never, if they truly love Star Wars, that they never explored what happened with the characters post Return of the Jedi going forward, right? It's pretty sad that they never have. And then they go to the Old Republic and, you know, of course, the Force Unleashed and stuff like that as a set-off point to how they would create these stories. So it's very revealing. All right, Luke Skywalker actor Mark Hamill has also been vocal about how he disagreed with Luke's arc and the backstory he had to come up with to justify it. So basically, he's following the Hamill narrative because he's seen how Mark Hamill probably got a response about that. And then now everybody wants to be all kind and like, oh, well, we forgive Hamill because of, you know, this is how he's seen This is what he thought about how the story should have gone, right? And it's the same thing. Same thing, just another actor from the Disney trilogy. So does this mean that the Disney trilogy was not a success when it comes to, honoring the established characters? Yes, we already talked about that. We've seen that from the beginning. Now, does this mean that he always thought this way? John Boyega always thought this way? No. Because if he truly felt this way, we would have heard about it a long time ago. We already heard Hamill being very critical to the direction that Rian Johnson was taking Luke. And yes, he has walked things back a little, or some. But like I said, you can't trust these people, these actors and actresses. They're going to say things to make them still seem relevant with the fans, on top of relevant with the Hollywood studios. And that's including Disney. So there's not much trust. You can agree to a certain point. Like you can say, oh yeah, we see that. We see exactly what you see, Mark, and stuff like that. But does it mean that they're truthful? No. That we should go and put them on a pedestal? No. Then you have the fans who have created more than one change or petition either to either remove the sequels from the Star Wars canon or remake them. Was there a petition? If there was, I must have not even paid attention to that, because I already knew that that was something that was never going to change. And I think I kind of remember that. I don't know. Maybe I put it in the back of my mind and I don't care, because George Lucas era is where it's at, the true authentic Star Wars. There is no indication that anything like that would be happening. However, new Disney Star Wars movies are on their way that many hope will breathe life back into the franchise. So they're admitting that the franchise under Disney is dead, that it needs resuscitation. That includes The Mandalorian and Grogu, so the film about babysitters in space, which just dropped its first trailer, and the Starfighter, Disney Star Wars Starfighter, and a new movie featuring Daisy Ridley's return as Rey. Our take on John Boyega's Star Wars revision ideas, and so they're just talking about that, but I'm not going to get into that. And so, if you go back and look into all the posts on Twitter regarding what John Boyega said, you're going to see people hyping John up. Basically, that they're forgiving him for, or forgetting or ignoring the fact that he gaslighted fans so many times, called them racist so many times, he has this bipolar, just like Melissa said, I think it was Melissa, of going back and forth from talking against Disney, Star Wars, or Disney Lucasfilm, and then talking against fans and going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, he is only appeasing the fans that he's meeting at the conventions. Take him out of that equation, he's going to talk against them to appease Hollywood studios. That's it. That right there in a nutshell. That right there in a nutshell. So I would just take this with a grain of salt. He is just repeating a narrative, something that, like myself, has talked about from the beginning, seeing how these characters were bastardized. I even said that they screwed up Finn's character. I was honest with that. Does that mean I like Disney Star Wars? Oh, fuck no, I don't like it. But I can still acknowledge that they even screwed up their own characters. Yes, we have 95 people watching. Thank you so much. If you're on Twitter, come over here on this side and join in. I know that there's I have Pierce watching on Twitter. So thank you so much, Purist. Shout out to him. And go subscribe to his channel, to Bane, on Rumble, and support him on that end. I highly appreciate if you guys did that, because he's still making quality content. He's still supporting George Lucas era of Star Wars, calling out the many shills who are liking this Cade Skywalker, possibility of Cade Skywalker coming into the movies and stuff like that. So go over there and subscribe to his Rumble, to Bane Rumble and support him on there. And on the 13th, I will be returning back to talk more New Jedi Order with him there. So check it out. Check it out. And here we go. Soul Assassin has it right here. And like I said earlier, and when we began Caf Chat today, I do have a Rumble. I had it linked so that the live would air there, and over time I just totally forgot about it, and it just somehow it doesn't now transfer or link over there when I go live, so I have to go correct the issues. So yeah, so you could still find my OG Star Wars over there. I will correct the issue so it could stream. I myself think that streaming anywhere you can gets you people, gets you subscribers, gets the watch. And because my channel is purely about George Lucas era Star Wars, I think it's very important to be front and center with what I do. Front and center with what I do. Yes, hashtag free purist. Free purist. I agree. So there you go. So these are the latest here. But there's one more thing before we end here, is that I was removed. Wrong one. I was talking about someone that I was in, like, that has me living rent-free in their head. And it's regarding the Grogu and Mando trailer. Like I said, I have never really commented on the Star Wars trailer on YouTube. And the only thing I've really said was like, oh, I thought the rumor said that they weren't going to really show the trailer or whatever that rumor was, right? Whatever that rumor was. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. You guys got to watch it with me. If I had to sit through it, you guys got to do it too. Let me go ahead and remove this. And you're going to see who I live rent-free in their head. And she won't say my name. And she'll even say, who is this OG Star Wars? I don't even know who she is. But then I live rent-free in her head. She is in such denial, and I don't even like correspond with her. I was just curious to see where she was at with the new comings of what's going on in Star Wars. Let me go ahead and close that out. Oh, let me see here. There we go. I don't want to dox anybody. Okay, there we go. All right. So if you guys know who she is, here it is. So basically, this is what I said to her, and I'm going to play the video. I'm going to play the clip. Namaste, Stephanie Janasek. I hope you find peace and stop crying over differing opinions. You sound like you need yoga or maybe touch some grass. Maybe yoga outside on grass. So this is why I said that. Let me go ahead and rewind that. Make sure the volume is up. Okay.
You know, I'm sorry, but I'm not taking the opinion of a drug dealing convicted felon as sacrosanct about Star Wars, right? Why should we? Okay, I'm not taking the opinions of a yoga instructor or anybody else. You have to judge it for yourself, so you have to go out and see it, okay? You have to go see it. And I think the thing that pisses me off the most is that these people are hell-bent on destroying any kind of revival because A, it costs them money. It's money out of their pockets. The only way the black pills like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, etc., only way they make any headway is if they trash everything. You know, I personally, I can't wait to hear what Tom Connors bloviates out there. Because it's going to be like, shut the fuck up. It's a teaser, okay? Let us watch it and form our own opinion without you getting pissed off if we say we like what we saw. Okay? Look, the only people I know that are more acidic than black pill Star Wars fans and by and large blue pill Star Wars fans are heavy metal fans who gang up on a band for, basically going in a different direction and not having a band member come back because he's too sick to perform.
Wow. Okay. So, yes, I'm the yoga instructor. So don't listen to me, even though I'm not even really talking about the Mando and Grogu trailer. I seen bits and pieces of it because it's, shows up on my feed and stuff like that. But I've never left any criticism other than I don't like Disney Star Wars. However, she is so pissed off because people are giving their opinion over a trailer and making it sound like people are telling other people how to feel about it and what to feel about it or whatever. Yeah, last time I know that we're all individuals and we can take people's words with a grain of salt or even not listen to them and form our own opinions. So like I say, if my opinion over a franchise and their ability to maintain that franchise stops you from enjoying it, then you're giving me too much power. You are now not in the correct state of mind of forming your own opinion based upon your own research and facts. And on top of that, she is a fucking hypocrite. Why? Because the minute you share your opinion on her channel, on her live or on her video, she bans you from her channel. That's a fucking big hypocrite right there. So she's pissed off about people's opinions about a trailer. Leave us alone. We want to enjoy it. We don't, blah, 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 blah. She's basically defending Disney Star Wars. We should let us enjoy it. Let us have our own opinions. But then she is doing the opposite of what she's preaching. So there we go. So I was curious because I was like, okay, so we have, new content that will come out for Disney Star Wars, the faux lore. I wonder what this woman is saying because she used to be an avid anti-Disney Star Wars channel. And over time, she has softened up to wanting Disney Star Wars to be redeemed, to be saved, and she's fully into the rumors of Kennedy's out. She basically was also in the same video. This is just a clip from the video that she did, accusing anybody who doesn't have her friend Cameron Pasha on or disagrees with him or questions what he has to say with his rumors from Sparrow, that they are racist. So basically, she gaslights people for not agreeing or agreeing with her friend, calls them racists, is pissed off because your opinion is different from hers and you're making her not enjoy something. And people should have informed their own opinions, yet she'll block you for yours. She wants Persian pee-pee. So there's that. So in the beginning of Caf Chat today, when I was talking about, me living rent-free in someone's head, it's her. It's her. And I thought it was funny because I wasn't expecting myself to make this appearance from her, basically. Now, she's all over Nerdrotic. She's all over Geeks and Gamers. Ryan Kennel for their opinion on a trailer. A trailer is going to have various opinions. People are going to say, hey, it's boring, or I don't like the direction it looks like it's going, or I don't even care for it, what have you, or I like it. Trailers will elicit different responses, right? Like, I remember people were hyping up The Last Jedi's trailer, thinking it was cool. Oh, I can't wait to hear the story. People who now fucking hate it, right? But the trailer elicited like excitement in them. And it ended up, after they watched the movie, they were pissed. They didn't like it. I've seen that. I witnessed that. Trailers will give off different vibes to a person, Or maybe they're just so disconnected and just so done with Disney Star Wars that when they see it, they will form their opinions from that. And that's perfectly fine. That's disenfranchisement, right? Because of the direction that the beloved franchise was taken by the new owners. That is common. So there you have it. And we're going to end with that. I have 108 people listening, watching here between here and Twitter. Thank you so much. 109. Thank you so much. But I thought that would be funny to end with that. Now her voice, I guess she had some kind of ailment, sickness that made her, she had operation on her voice. I don't know. That's what I'm told. Who knows? But that's how her voice is. You know, so sounds like a smoker's voice or something like that. Who knows? However, you know, it's quite funny that this yoga instructors made an appearance with her. And I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even post or share. I didn't even go to Star Wars YouTube channel to leave a comment. And here I am. Don't listen to the yoga instructor. And that's why I said that maybe you need yoga. Maybe you need to go outside and touch grass. Maybe you need to do some yoga on grass. Sorry. I had to go there. That was hilarious. I had to go there. So she has a face for radio and a voice for no medium. Right? All right. With that being said, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Caf Chat. I had a great time with you guys always. Just, you know, a lot of this was current news, like the Cringe Factor was current news about John Boyega. Don't give him slack because, you may agree with his take on where they should have took the Disney trilogy, because you know what? They tossed the EU out. He doesn't even care about that. They tossed out the greater EU, the greater lore, so that like people like J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson could have a clean slate. So from the beginning, there was no saving it. We knew the direction they were going. So don't give him leeway. He's already expressed what he thinks about you fans, or fans of Star Wars, or fans in general. Correct? And then, of course, with the Starfighter rumor of Cade Skywalker, there's another thing that happened there. So I thought that was very important to talk and discuss, as well as just us black pills. The black pill narrative from Janasek and her company there that happens to talk behind paid walls on Patreon against anybody who hates Disney Star Wars. So that's very interesting as well. But anyways, you guys are fucking amazing. Thank you so much. I got 112 people here listening, watching, participating. If you haven't become a channel member, please do. And one more announcement before we leave. Talking EU. It's never really left, but I finally have 2 interviews. I just took a break from it. 2 interviews. Nerd Migos on October 13th, 5 p.m. and Scran the following Saturday at 1 p.m., I believe. Or no, not Saturday, Monday. After that at 1 p.m. So I'll have more information out. I'll have the links made and all that stuff for those interviews and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. And then on the 13th, after I interview Nerd Migos, I will be on Bane's channel on Rumble, and we're talking about New Jedi Order there. And tonight is the spacing. So go ahead and go click on notification, receive notifications, make sure your notifications are on. And I believe it's like 7:30 my time, Pacific Standard Time is now the time frame for it. So go check that out. Some interesting topics that you may want to listen to and hear and discuss in the chat with them, as well as playing their shill games. I don't remember the Shield of Fortune. There we go. I remember. So go check that out. I will be there in the chat as much as I can. And with that being said, you guys are amazing as always. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you. And see you guys later.
The fate of the galaxy is now in your hands. With the new LEGO Star Wars Slave 1, you can load Captain Solo, arm your weapon systems, man the cockpit, and take off with the most feared ship in the galaxy. But watch out for rebel ships. No matter the enemy, no matter the firepower, you control the action. With the new LEGO Star Wars collection.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure at this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
Another happy landing.